Now, I like to return to kind of why a GWAS is overall important, right? So the science underlying it, the statistics underlying it are great, but why is this important to us as experimenters that are interested in bioinformatics and finding these genes that may be involved with a particular disease? And the primary goal of these GWAS is to better understand the biology of the underlying disease or phenotype. And because these genome-wide association studies are hypothesis-free in that we don't really know what we'll find, we know that any particular phenotype or disease may have a genetic component which we're looking for, but we're essentially searching the entire genome using these tag SNPs to do so. So it often leads to the discovery of novel genes or biological pathways that are involved in specific disease processes. And this allows us to kind of determine how these diseases work from kind of an immune system disease pathology perspective. And this might consider, discovering genes that we haven't considered before. So obviously we would go in, thinking we might identify, for example, in our asthma case, the mucosal membrane genes being involved and the immune system genes being involved. So we might have an idea, but, doing these GWAS in this unbiased way could often lead to novel genes that we hadn't considered. And this gives us a overall better understanding of complex disease, which ultimately may lead to the prevention or the creation and development of novel and better treatments. And so here are just a few of the kind of success stories, I guess, in that, you see a number of phenotypes or disease traits here that are extremely complex. You see osteoporosis, schizophrenia, type 2 diabetes that we mentioned previously, and some gene hits that we found with GWAS. So using those tag SNPs to statistically infer that they were kind of carried along on the same chromosomal segment, being in the haplotype block with the causative mutation. And so here are a few of the GWAS hits that were identified and some of the known or candidate drugs that were able to be developed because of those GWAS discoveries. And so you see that we have had some success in actually developing these treatments for these complex disorders based on the genes that we found from these underlying GWAS. And of course, as with most of these large genetic type studies, you'll see that making this data freely available to the public, this time through a database called the National Human Genome Research Institute and EBI, European Bioinformatics Institute. They track all published GWAS and provide that to the scientific community and perform, analyses of the results. And as of, actually, this is a couple years old now, this literature contains well over 3,500 publications identifying over 78,000 unique SNP trait associations or statistical relationships that they've identified.